Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Welcome back, guys. Evening. It's a little earlier than usual. Usually here at 10, and it's usually John, so I'm just filling in for John. It's obviously sad to see that John's not able to do this one, but thankfully I am, so I'm privileged to do the Anything Goes show. I've got a lovely tinge of pink, so if Neil was here now, I can almost hear him chastising me for that colour, but we'll pass swiftly on from that.
Absolutely.
I've got John. How you doing, John, today? You all right, mate?
I'm very well, thank you. Of course, the show again.
Yeah, anything goes.
Anything goes. Exactly.
Anything goes. So pink is allowed. Stu, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, good today, mate. Yeah, good today. I had a decent day, so scored a couple at footy earlier. So yeah, I'm happy.
Oh, brilliant, mate. I'd see double figures, no doubt.
Do you know what? I've only ever hit double figures once in playing in a match, and I was about 9, and I was a school football captain at Liverpool Football Club. And I think we played Sheriff Hales, and I scored about 9 goals. Don't ask me how. We beat them quite comfortably, and I popped up with 9.
It's finest hour.
Well, unfortunately, though, to my dismay, there isn't a plaque of my name on their fucking board. What's all that about? An opposing captain comes and pops in 9, and you don't get a plaque. Oh, well, shocking.
Yeah, you've not let that one go, have you, mate? So, but anyway, we'll move on. Andrew, how you doing, Andrew? You all right, mate?
Yeah, all good. So busy evening, just a back-to-back shows, just in one on the WFC channel. So yeah, but all good.
Oh, good, mate. Ben, how you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm very well wired on caffeine because I've not slept since my night shift this morning.
I was a bit worried that you weren't going to drop in, actually. There was a little bit of a moment where...
Oh, my phone decided to just give me the finger, so I had to reset it.
Oh, dear. Well, at least you're in now, mate. Right, we've got quite a good few topics lined up today, actually. So everyone's done their own work and brought a topic to the show, so I'm really looking forward to this one. We'll start off really on the kind of main headline, which is the two. Not that it's about any of the transfers in particular, but obviously the burning topic at the minute for United in terms of Frankie de Jong and Anthony. So we'll kind of have a whip round the panel. John, kind of what's your thoughts on this? Is this ever going to happen, mate, or do you not think it will?
I think de Jong will probably happen. I think what has happened is that United have, maybe to their surprise, realised over the last few weeks that de Jong is potentially available, and I think they've almost they've put all the other transfer targets on side in order to try and get this de Jong deal over the line. And I think hopefully as soon as we do get him, if hopefully we do, then I think we will then look to see what budget we have left, kind of thing. So I think it's all about de Jong at this present moment. Hopefully we can get that done soon, and then we can focus on all other targets, because I don't think we'll get anybody else. We won't be concentrating on anyone else at this present moment, in my opinion.
Is that, it's a valid point that John makes there, Stu. Do you think that's a bit of a worry? Do you think United have a knack of doing this, where we focus too much on one target? And do you think it's important that we get de Jong? Is he a massive target for us this season?
Yeah, you see, I wouldn't focus on de Jong. If you're going to bring somebody like Frankie de Jong in first, or you're going to bring somebody like Frankie de Jong in, you need to have players in and around him that are going to work with him. So you need to bring, his kind of support cast in first before you go for de Jong. Because if we bring a player in of de Jong's calibre, there's absolutely no doubt, and he's a wonderful footballer. But as I said on the show last night, he's not a priority for me. But if you are going to bring him in and you are going to lay out 60 million euros or whatever it's going to take to do it, then you've got to have a proper supporting cast. And the way that he plays, although he will drop in deep and he'll play a kind of false 6, he's almost a hybrid midfielder. You're going to need somebody to kind of marshal the back four, whoever that may be, whether it's a true holding player or somebody who can just take the ball off the centre halves and deliver it to De Jong. Or then you've got to consider how you pair him off with Bruno. And the problem with Bruno is De Jong's very, very good at going forward. Yes, he'll take the ball from deep, but he's very good at progressing the ball. And we all know that Bruno won't sit that 20 yards that we need when somebody surpasses Bruno's position. And the other thing is, if you don't get the width sorted out in terms of sorting out your two fullbacks, you're going to have problems. So if you're going to go for De Jong, fair enough, but let's get the supporting cast in first and foremost in place, and then you get De Jong in. And that's the main issue for me. So we're going about it as usual, arse about face, you know. And the other thing is, he's away on international duty. It could have all be wrapped up for all we know. Nobody really knows what goes on behind closed doors. Could be already wrapped up. We could have Anthony wrapped up. I quite like the signing of Anthony. I think he'll offer our fullbacks a greater support, certainly on the right side. So if you've got somebody like Wan-Bissaka who plays, who is, I think our most naturally gifted fullback in terms of his positional sense and his tackling. I'm not talking about going forward. I'm just talking about what he's there for, and that's defending first and foremost. Having somebody like Anthony would be great. The other thing for De Jong is he'll have somebody that he can tap it off to 3 or 4 yards to the right. He won't be having to play it 10 or 15 yards up the field, which is where Sancho and Rashford tend to occupy themselves. So, fair enough. If we're going to go and get him, I don't think we need him, but fair enough. If you're going to go and get him, get the people around him first and then bring De Jong in. But we're going to make an arse about face of it. We'll get him in. We'll all be happy that we've got him. And then we won't get the necessary players to make him tick. And, and that's the key thing. It's all right bringing a player in, but you've got to make him tick. We didn't make Donny van der Beek tick, and he's a fabulous talent. We all know this. Sancho didn't tick straight away. Varane hasn't ticked yet. You've got to consider all of this. So you've got to consider, if you're bringing a player with De Jong's quality in, what kind of structure is he coming into? Ten Hag obviously knows what he wants, but bringing the players around him first and then bringing De Jong. So, but as I say, it could all be done. But I don't think, and a word of warning, I don't think De Jong is going to come in and be the magic one that we all think he is. I really don't. I don't think he's going to come and make the impact immediately that we all think he's going to do. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. Nobody was talking about De Jong 12 months ago in the Man United fan base. Zero. All of a sudden he becomes available and we get linked with him. We've got to go for him. It's just we fall into this trap all the time.
You're right, and I kind of worry. I mean, I felt like we did that a little bit with Sancho the year before, and my worry is that do we put a lot of eggs into this basket and then it doesn't come to fruition, and then we try and grab what is remaining of those eggs and put them in another basket, and I feel like we do this every year. But I mean, I think the light in the shade is that the transfer window's only just opened. Eric Ten Hag's new in his job. Hasn't seen his squad. There is some positives there, and I think we've got to be a little bit patient. I think as well. But I think it's worrying for fans. We want to hear news, don't we? And I think when we're really
actually, Reece, you're absolutely right there, pal. Fans want to hear stuff all the time.
Yeah,
football doesn't work like that. And what's happening is fans are looking at watching Liverpool bringing Nunes and a couple of other players. City have bought in Haaland and the Silva lad from, I think his name was Silva, wasn't it? From crikey, I can't remember. The South American from River Plate, I think it was. And Manchester United are doing nothing, and that's how it is. United are doing nothing. But maybe we're being a bit smarter about our business this year. Maybe we're actually going about it a smarter way, and in the end, we might all be happy.
Yeah, possibly. I hope you're right. I really hope you're right. Andrew, what's your thoughts on it? Obviously, you've got a bit of a topic following this, but what's your general thoughts on the Frankie de Jong thing? Do you think we're a little naive to kind of be putting, and Anthony, I suppose? I mean, it seems to be sort of more focused on Frankie de Jong, but do you feel like we're putting too much faith in one signing at the minute? And do you feel like it is hinged on de Jong signing for United that we do quite well with Eric Ten Hag at the start of the season?
Yeah, I think I don't know whether we might be falling into the same trap we fell into transfer windows before. I mean, say United have apparently offered the 51 million plus 17 million in add-ons, but that's a deal which the way typically United operate. The way they signed Bruno Fernandes as well, it was like an upfront free with all the add-ons on top.
Just a quick one, Andrew, and it's only a question to you, pal. Do you think we can afford to do it that way? Do you think Barcelona will allow it that way, or do you think it'll be a cash deal only?
I think they want more. They want more money up front, but we're trying to structure it in a way that we will give so much up front, but we want those add-ons as well. But Barcelona have got to reduce their debt down, and I think
exactly,
the total fee comes to like 68 million, which is virtually what they pay for him. So, and obviously, convincing Barcelona to do the deal is just one part of the battle. We've got to convince De Jong to sign as well, and he's said his preference has been to stay at Barcelona, but he's been becoming increasingly frustrated. His future's not clear at the Camp Nou as well, and obviously De Jong has that relationship with Ten Hag already. So it's Barcelona are considering the offer, but then they want to get that debt down even further. And I think De Jong's sort of not helped his situation at Barcelona, even though he says, I want to stay. I think he made a comment last week, I prefer the Netherlands style of playing more than Barcelona, so which didn't go down with people within the club at Barcelona. So, but I think we'll get it over the line, but I just hope United don't drag it out like they do on the past transfer windows. With Sancho, it took us 2 years to get him, and we could have added him within the first season we was chasing. So I think once we get that first one over the line, hopefully quick, then we can then focus on other players as well, and then bring in a core group of players.
No, I agree. What's your thoughts on it, Ben?
I think we'll sign him. I think the problem you've got is everyone's making an issue because they've got to reduce their debt by the 30th of June by 700 million euros. So they're trying to restructure. There's a vote going on at Barca next week or this week, I think, in terms of how they're going to go about raising funds.
Yeah.
And because it's a vote, obviously he's their most sellable asset. So they'll vote on that, plus how they're going to raise the funds necessary to please La Liga by the 30th of this month, because they didn't accept the CVC offer. But the thing that I read, the thing that sort of killed Barca now, even if they chose to not keep him, to keep him and not sell him, is they've burnt their bridges with him by how Xavi initially came out saying he doesn't want him to go, he's an integral part of the team, and then you had the board, and then the manager then followed suit by going, well, actually, economically, we actually don't really need you that much, and you're basically the best pawn we can flog, because Dembele's leaving on a free, so they're only saving his wages. And they want to get the Lewandowski deal done, but they can't do any of that. They can't, because they can't even announce the Christensen deal with La Liga until they've put a plan in place for their debt.
What do you reckon to Apex's comment there, Ben? Like in terms of, and it kind of feeds into what I was asking the rest of the guys earlier on there, just in terms of how much we invest ourselves in this whole saga. Obviously, we've been guilty of that in the past. Is it worth dragging this out?
Well, there was a guy who I sort of found by chance when I was reading some articles about the whole Barca debt thing, and he sort of covers a bit of Real Madrid more so and Atletico, and he was saying that the problem Barca have is that they can posture all they like, but the debt's not going to go away, and there's going to come a point where that they're kind of put in a position where they have to sell, and at that point they could almost bite the nose off to spite their face by continually asking United for all this funds, and then United go, right, fine, then we won't pay him. We'll just not buy him then, fine. We'll go and buy somebody else. And then nobody's going to come forward and buy him because there's nobody else that really needs Frankie de Jong apart from us, in terms of from a top club who can afford to pay the money that they all want. So I think Barca are just doing what they always do, because they're not in the luxurious position that Real Madrid are in terms of who own Real Madrid. It's the bank.
Yeah.
So their ability to restructure their debt is far easier, and also their capital is far larger than Barca's in terms of that's why they did all the rights with the shirt sponsorship and the stadium and everything when they were trying to cover the cost to keep Messi.
Yeah, I mean, the scary thing is it's sticky plaster, isn't it? If one player is going to sort of reduce debt, it's like switching off a light to change global warming.
I mean, the thing
is
as well. I mean, a friend of mine actually mentioned it to me yesterday, and I didn't actually think about it because I thought we won't be that savvy. But he actually said, "You never know, Ben. They could just be using the Frankie de Jong thing because it's the biggest transfer that we're supposedly going to do, as this huge big elephant in the room, and then they're just going about their business nice and quietly with the players that they know they can sort of pretty much nail down straight away." And everyone's just focusing all that because you look at all the media attention. All the media attention is driven by the Frankie de Jong thing, and it's routine. It's like every minute you see, it's changing. He wants to stay. He doesn't want to go. Barca don't want to sell him. Whereas all the other deals, like the Timber thing's gone really quiet now. The Anthony thing, or literally the only thing I've heard about him is his agent said he's happy to go. He's told Ajax he wants to leave. Ajax are happy to sell him. The fee's easy to agree. He's the only one where there's all this convoluted mismatch of evidence being floating about the ether.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe if we don't hear so much about other players and the players that we've been linked to previously, then maybe there's stuff happening in the background and no news is good news. I'm not sure, but just to kind of touch on John, I'll come to you, mate, on this question here. Where does Frankie de Jong actually fit into the team? Do you think there's room for him and Bruno, or do you think that means there's competition there for places?
He should have watched the start of the show. I'd already covered it. He should have watched the start.
Yeah. I'll just allow John to answer that though.
No, in my opinion, I think Stu made a good point before you got to look at buying people in and around him. I mean, obviously de Jong will improve on the field by signing him, but he won't be. He's not good enough to solve all on the field. Where if we get him in, it's a good step. We also need another midfielder by his side as well. And I think what de Jong brings to us is the offensive aspect of the game. He will drive the ball forwards. I have mentioned before that defensively he's not the most solid, and if you're gonna play, you got to have one who's slightly more defensive minded than him. To cover that. But I think the way Ten Hag, he likes to play with two centre midfielders, and if you have de Jong in there, he'll go more offensive than that. But alongside him, he'll also want someone to progress the ball forward, but someone maybe slightly more defensive and who won't progress it as much as what de Jong will. And I think Bruno is capable. I think the bigger challenge for Bruno is possibly Van der Beek, possibly, in my opinion, because I think one thing Ten Hag will stress, and the Dutch style, is to be good on the ball, progressive with the ball, and everything like that. But as we know, Bruno, he's a very good player, Bruno, but at times he can be a bit wasteful in possession. That's something he needs proven that, and he'll have to raise to the challenge if if the likes of de Jong and Van der Beek start saying that he will need to be more patient possession. But I do think there's room for de Jong and Bruno in the team, but I think Bruno's main competition will be Van der Beek personally.
Yeah, that will be interesting how Van der Beek's integrated into that. I just want to kind of swiftly move on to Andrew's topic, which was kind of feeding into the transfer rumours as well. And just we'll also kind of touch upon that and add a bit to that. Also, don't forget to add your questions into the panel as well in the chat, guys. And then we'll get around all that if we can. Andrew, just coming on to your topic there, mate. And do you want to kind of explain a little bit where your topic is, mate?
Yeah, so it's whether is there going to be another summer of discontent on the cards for United in terms of transfers? I'm just thinking, looking back a couple of years ago, the 2020 transfer window in the summer, we brought in Van der Beek, Tellez and Cavani, after a summer where we were flirting with Dortmund over Jadon Sancho. I felt like maybe that transfer was very underwhelming and left more questions than it did, under Ollie's second season at Old Trafford. Obviously, you have the media, saying United linked with every player under the sun as well. And obviously, Sancho was the main target we had, and who was daring to dream, Ollie would be backed and everything. But obviously, it was in COVID times, budget issues. But to say the project under Ollie was, just beginning and obviously needed that funding. So the months dragged on with no action, and then we got those 3 players in, and obviously felt like Ed Woodward and Matt Judge, who were running the show at the time, slightly let us all down. And I'm just thinking, coming up to now, we've got a new manager in Ten Hag. There's a new project, a new structure there. There's no Woodward or Judge anymore. So, and obviously there's rumours aplenty that we're again linked with every other player going. So, and just look at the other teams at the moment, like City, confirming Haaland, and Liverpool now looking like it's all but assured they're getting Darwin Núñez as well. So, and look at the from United's point of view as well, in the players that have gone as well. So we're in desperate need for like fullbacks, centre halves, and midfielders, and that was even before some of these players are left as well. So I don't know whether I feel like there's grumblings and groans amongst the fan base at the moment, and are we just being set up to fail once more? It seems. I mean, I say the waters are a bit muddied in terms of the start of the transfer window, but I don't know whether is it bad as it seems. I mean, United don't rarely announce deals before the transfer window opens, or even just after the opening the transfer window as well. So there's a lot of noise coming out of Old Trafford at the moment, even though the last season just gone, there was leaks, coming out of every place inside that ground as well. So just the positive spin I can think of on it, it's just like it might be, everything's going on behind the scenes, and things are getting done, and obviously got Richard Arnold in charge, and I think he's more happy doing the commercial side, and John Murtaugh's leading the football side. So, and I think with Ten Hag, he doesn't strike me as a kind of man that's going to tolerate a club that's going to run as poorly as United have done in the past. And I think if that was the case, like he had at Ajax, he'd have walked away a long time ago. So I just think I can't help but worry that United are going to flatter to deceive us. They're going to, if we don't get certain players, or they'll just get players and say, we bought somebody in, and that'll keep the fans happy. So, but I just hope we get the players that are right for us. But I'm just a little bit worried that we might not get what we want.
We've tread down this path before, yeah. Stu, what do you want to add reasons why that might not necessarily be the case, and it might go according to plan, if you can?
It's a difficult question. It's a difficult subject to talk about, actually, because as a fan of the club, you want the very, very best in class to come walking through the door with a big smile on the face, desperate to play for Manchester United. I think you've got to look at where we are as a club, I'm afraid, and look at probably what we stand for as a club, and also look at the kind of issues that have happened. Really, actually, not since Sir Alex has gone, but really mainly David Gill. I know they went in the same time period, but David Gill was a real catalyst to being able to push and get deals done for players. Now, we all know, and fans have been spoiled throughout the Sir Alex era, that he would pop off on his holiday mid-July and everything was done before he went away to the south of France for 2 weeks, and then he'd come back and away he'd go. And this is one of the biggest problems that we've got as a club at the minute. We haven't pre-planned. We haven't forward thought about what we're going to do, Vic, and how we're going to achieve the types of things that we're at. So we've kind of fallen away from players wanting to come to us automatically. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Players like the path of least resistance. Most people like the path of least resistance in life. Harry Kane moving to Man City last season would have been his path of least resistance to win a Premier League title. Andrew will remember, Ben will remember this years ago when players decided to migrate up to Rangers and Celtic. And the thing about that is they went to win titles. It's a path of least resistance for them. So Manchester United can't offer that right now. We can't offer any kind of title winning side, not just yet. So you've got to wait 18 months to see how it will transpire with Ten Hag. So you've got to look at the type of market that we're shopping in. and the types of players that we may or may not be able to attract. So we can't attract a Darwin Nunez. We can't attract an Erling Haaland. We probably couldn't attract a Robert Lewandowski. Not that we'd want him, but we probably can't attract it. A Paulo Dybala, a Frank Kessie. You know, all these types of players that would, I'm not really saying Dybala would, because I'm not convinced he would, but a Frank Kessie would fit our system beautifully. But he just doesn't want to come to us. AC Milan are a bit more of a better proposition now. They just won the Serie A. Real Madrid, as Ben pointed out, about the way they're structured. They moved away from Galacticos. They're starting to rebuild a fantastic squad there. Barcelona's still got that pull, you know, over Manchester United. So we've got to kind of decide and look about where we're going to shop. So can I put a positive spin on it? Very, very difficult. It really is very, very difficult. I would hope that players still see Manchester United as a draw. But I think with what's happened over the last 3 to 4 to 5 years in terms of attracting players, it's quite clear that we aren't that draw anymore. So the board have got to decide, do we want to do what Arsenal does and just say top four is good enough for our financial side? Or do we want to actually really go to town again and start pushing and becoming the club we all know that we are? And that's a dilemma of any professional footballer right now. But I said something a couple of years ago, and I'll close on this, by the way, and I'll always stand by this. You can go to a place and buy yourself a title, City, Liverpool, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, where you're almost guaranteed to win a title. Or you can actually build a team, be part of a project that builds a team, and you transport them to the title. And there's certain managers, Guardiola, Jose Mourinho, in his pomp, before he kind of lost his mojo, they wouldn't dream of doing that. See, Arsenal have never managed to attract a high-profile manager that could turn them back to title-winning contenders. So you never see a Guardiola go there, and I fear that's happening with players at this point in time. So whatever Ten Hag decides to do, however he goes about his job of rebuilding, he needs to take his time, get us back to somewhere near the top, and then you'll see the types of players come back. So it's going to be a very, very difficult one for us. I think we're shopping in a different market now to likes of City and Liverpool and Spurs to a degree, by the way, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a bit of a worry. Do you agree with that, Ben? Do you think that we're destined to sort of have another bad transfer window, or do you actually have a bit of hope and think that we've made the right sort of acquisitions to get the right people in?
To be honest, I don't think Ten Hag would have that mindset. I think he's too switched on. He's too aware as well, because it's painted forever in the press, our position. So you can't not be aware of where we are as a club now. But I also think that he first of all wouldn't go for the types of players that we would have gone for in the past, signing them based on name rather than what they're actually going to do for the team. Because I think he's all about the team. And I also think he will be fully aware that the type of player that he would imagine United would have signed in their past isn't in that pool of toys that's available to him now, and he'll tailor his sort of player profile around that. He's not going to be naive enough, I don't think, to go to the board and go, or to John Merchant and go, right, I want this person, even though probably in the back of his mind or his assistants going, we just ain't going to pull that off. So what's the point in pursuing it? I think he'll go for players more so that he feels he can attract because of who he is, B, what he can sell them in terms of where he wants to take the club, and then B, and the third point, which I think is key, is he'll go for a player that's to fit what he wants from the team, not because he's a big name, because he's got 800 million people on social media following him, which we would have done in the past because we'd have just seen the commercial side of things. I think he's all about the here and now, but then where he wants to go, because the here and now affect where you want to go. And I don't think he's going to be silly enough, given that all the, I'm guessing the gesticulating he would have done with the board about the demands he wants from them before accepting the job, that if I'm going to take this job, you're following me on this journey. So whatever I say is best for the team because of where it's going to get us. And I don't think he'll be worried as much. And the problem is as well, you've got to remember, is a lot of people, especially with United, because it's such a left and right of arc in terms of the fan base, people think signing a player is like going and buying a microwave. It's done in 5 minutes. There's a lot of moving parts, and especially with the fact that, again, which a lot of other teams don't have as a bigger issue with, we have, even though we've been this failed success for the last 9 years, the biggest commercial entity in club football. So even though we're failing on the pitch, there is still that huge commercial juggernaut that's pulling us still in this direction of attracting all the fan base that we have. So it's far harder for the board to then do stuff because you've got all the image rights because of the amount of pull that we have. But I don't see Ten Hag signing players that are going to be prima donnas. I think he'll be very specific, very precise. And I think, like Stu says, I think he'll tailor his ambitions of the player profile around where the club are now, because you can't lie to a player. It's plastered in the media where we are as a club. So a player's going to know where United are in comparison with all these other clubs. And I think he'll eradicate that issue by going for a player that he knows he's more times out of 10 going to be able to win in the argument in terms of convincing them. Yeah,
no, it's interesting, isn't it? I think we're as fans, we're in that awful situation where, because it's out of season, we don't know much about Erik Ten Hag and his personality and his character as well, because he's a new manager. Plus the players are all kind of either on international break or on holiday, and such an awful place as a fan, because as we said before, we just want to know what's going on all the time, which is something that we're so fortunate about, and it's such a massive luxury these days where you can get on your phone, get on Twitter, get on Google, get on whatever, and just check it all the time. And the fact is, because we're not getting that level of understanding, we're just getting all the media spin, really, which is what we've talked about for fans that we didn't want to hear about for next season and the seasons going on from that, because that's what United need to stop doing, becoming this kind of media spin, don't they?
There relies your issue. I think you're absolutely right. Ben, you were right to mention social media. Back when Sir Alex Ferguson was out doing his business, he never would have put it with social media. It would have driven him up the wall. What goes on in social media and how everything is played out so publicly now through social media and these so-called ITKs, etc. We are shopping in a different basket now. We are shopping in a different. But as Ben quite rightly pointed out, actually, I thought you articulated it really well, Ben. Sounds patronising upon it. I'm not. I just thought you did. But what I'm saying is, but Ben's right. There is a type of player that Ten Hag knows he'll get. And if he can get one at 20 million quid, it'll do exactly what he wants. He knows he'll get exactly what he wants. That's the best way to do business in in today's market. So I think you're right, Ben. I tend to agree with you, mate.
No, brilliant. Well, we'll move swiftly on because it's been the hour's going very, very fast, and there's plenty to talk about. So next topic is John's topic. So Thursday's fixtures are coming out, John, aren't they, for the Premier League, which is quite an exciting one this week to see.
Yeah.
And we're going to, you just kind of want to touch upon, the fixtures in general. Is it good that we should have some tough fixtures? Should we have some easier fixtures? Do you want to explain your topic?
Yeah, I think, like you said, the fixtures coming out on Thursday, and I think I wanted to raise a question about what kind of start would we like for Ten Hag, what Ten Hag would personally like. And I'm focusing purely on the first 6 or 7 fixtures of the season personally, and or even branch out to the first 10 games. So it'll be interesting to see what fixtures come out. But I would personally think that you want to strike balance. You don't want to have all easy fixtures at the start, but nor do you want a difficult start. You don't want to. Your first 7 games, you don't play any of the top 6, but nor do you want your first 7 games to be playing none of them. For me, a good balance would be maybe to have a couple games against promoted teams near the lower end, and then a for mid-table, and then maybe a couple of the bigger fixtures, like your Chelseas or your Liverpools or your Cities, because that way I think if the balance of if the fixtures are balanced like that, I think Ten Hag will get an understanding of the team and all that. And I think personally also, touch briefly again on the summer and that, I think it'll be interesting at what kind of players he does get in terms of how will he have time to develop the team, as particularly the new signings and that. And I personally think if you can get 3 to 4 players who improve the first 11, then you're going to place and you have the basis of building a team potentially. And I think that's what this summer is about personally. And I personally think Ten Hag would probably like to play a couple the big games early on within the first 5-6 weeks maybe, just so we can learn a bit about the team, and rather than have a stretch where you're playing for the top 6, within the space of 5 weeks or something. So I think it'll be interesting what fixtures come out, but I'm just thinking what the panel thinks would be ideal.
Yeah, well, Stu, do you want to? Yeah, sorry, mate. Do you want to come in straight in on this? I think.
Yeah. I don't mind the fixtures. I don't care where they come out. Really, it doesn't bother me. I've had this debate a million times with fans who talk about, we want an easy route to the quarterfinals in the Champions League. You just play your game. It really doesn't matter. If I had to choose between the first 7 fixtures, I'd like Liverpool away week 3, and then City away week 7. And then, but I'm not really fussed actually, to be honest, because the bottom line is you've got to play them anyway at some point. Now, whether you get an easy run in at the end or a hard run in at the end, or you've got 38 games to win the title, and it's up to you as a team, and it's up to you as an individual footballer to take every game and treat them exactly the same. Because where footballers struggle, and where footballers, if you can't get motivated for a Brentford, or you can't get motivated for a Brighton, but you're up for a City or a Liverpool, then you shouldn't be playing football. You should be motivated for every single game. And I think if you're a footballer, crikey, I used to get our fixture list through. The gaffer gives the fixture list second week into pre-season, and I'd look at it and I'd go, yeah, okay, whatever. And I'd wait till he told me who we were playing, because I was just never in. I just didn't care really. I was that much looking forward to playing football on a Saturday afternoon and a Tuesday or a Wednesday evening. I didn't really mind who we were playing, and I was always of the mindset that go into a match, you've got 10 players against 11. You're with the 10 against the 11, and you've got to fucking do everything you can to win that game of football. And I never used to care who it was. But if I was pulled and pushed to say who would you like within the first 7, I'd say Liverpool away week 3, City away week 7.
Yeah, it's interesting. I sort of agree with you, Stu, on that one. I'm a little bit kind of torn. I think obviously with it being Eric Ten Hag's kind of first obviously he's coming in first manager, first stint. United manager, hopefully some new players, and a point to prove. I think going in against some of the top 6 teams would be a challenge. I think it's like you said, it's a challenge that at some point you're gonna have to meet anyway. So it doesn't really matter. And I think what will be interesting this season is how it kind of clashes with this World Cup coming up, because obviously the season's congested anyway at that winter time period around the Christmas, and how much more is it going to be congested in the new year? So that'll be really interesting in terms of where we're sat. But I think again, it's that word expectation, isn't it? How much expectation have we got? Are we talking about here winning a title? Well, no, we're not. So let's be honest with ourselves. It doesn't really matter, does it? In terms of just we need to improve from where we were last season. I
don't think Ten Hag will mind too much either. Don't think Ten Hag and his coaches will mind too much really. They'll be focused on game 1. Whether it's home or away, they'll be focused on game 1, and then you just move forward from there.
I think Ben's trolling us already in the chat.
Well, it won't surprise me. Typical, really, quite frankly. But,
very brave.
Against them anyway.
Brave man, yeah. I mean, the scary thing is, I'm going to come to Andrew on this, Andrew. But the scary thing is like the teams around us as well now, as Stu kind of alluded to a little bit there. They're getting stronger, aren't they, as well? And obviously, there's teams like Newcastle below us who are getting stronger as well with investment. You know, does it really matter, as the guys put it, that we worry about any of the teams that we've got to play against? Or do we just go in there with an open mind?
I don't know what we're going to say worry about those teams around. I just think we've got to have them in the back of mind, but I think I've just got to focus on themselves at the first point. So we just got to do what we do. In terms of fixtures, it's like Stu said, we've got to play everybody, whether we do it in the first game, the 21st, or the last game of the season. I always like to be on the opening day of the season, be at Old Trafford, so we can hit that ground running with the first win. So, I mean, we were at home on the opening day season. I think I'd like to have Leeds again. So I'm just thinking back to last season, just like the atmosphere with all us fans back in and then smashing them 5-1 as well. So it'd be nice to do that again to him. Or even if we had Nottingham Forest at home as well. So they're back in the Premier League since 1999. And obviously James Garner was there. He's been instrumental in helping them achieve promotion as well. So I'm just thinking if that game was live on Sky, you'd have Roy Keane in the Sky Studios and being conflicted between United and Forest, which one would he would have be backing on that? But also, say we was actually away on the opening day, I wouldn't mind like Aston Villa away as well. So it's one of our favourite games to go and play at as well. And I don't think we've lost Villa Park since the turn of the century. So the same, Villa Park's always a good atmosphere. I would say I was there back in January when we drew 2-2. Felt like we should have won that, even though it was 2-0 up. But our defending was all over the place in the second half. But yeah, I'd just say when I look at the fixtures, I like to be at home on the opening day of the season, also on the last day of the season. Prefer to be at home as well. And then when I'm looking at the fixtures, I always like to see where we're playing Liverpool home and away. So that's my criteria when looking at the fixtures, and also Christmas time as well, whether we've got a Boxing Day match or a home game on New Year's Day or whenever that is. So that's like my criteria when looking at the new season fixtures.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, to be fair, we just need to get some. I mean, I think Apex mentioned it earlier on. Well, I'll get his comment back up there, but we just need to see some consistency, guys, don't we? I think in terms of just even those games where we've not played particularly well, but we've still come away with 3 points. That's a classic kind of United sometimes, wasn't it, where we're away from home and you just get that result that you need. And I think that's what we sometimes need to see a little bit more of United teams. But Ben, what's kind of your thoughts, mate? You like most of the guys in the chat, are you not that, in the panel, not that bothered about who we play? Just go out there and just, give it your all and try and get the win?
No, to be honest, I'm not bothered in all fairness, because you have to play them eventually anyway. But I also think Ten Hag will be more about what we are going to do rather than who we're playing. I think that will be secondary. I think it'll be. I think his whole thing in each game will just be, what are we going to do? What can we offer? And what are we going to implement? Forget who we're playing. It's irrelevant. You've got to play every team twice. It's about looking at what we did last season and are we going to better each result, each performance, and each half? And that takes precedence for me. It's irrelevant who we play. Because if he can walk off every pitch thinking, right, we bettered the result last season and we bettered the performance, and we're moving in that upward trajectory, I think that's all he's going to be concerned with. Because I don't think he will get caught up in the whole furore that will come, because whatever the fixtures get announced on Thursday, there's going to be a left of arc for United and a right of arc. It will be Ten Hag's got the worst possible start he could ever imagine, or it'll be Ten Hag's got the easiest start, so it's really unfair to judge him, but we're going to judge him anyway by saying he's got the easiest start out of all the managers. So he can't win regardless, which is why I think he'll just be solely focused on the team, who he's got available, and what he wants them to implement, irrelevant of who we're playing.
I think it's interesting also because I think that's what did for Moyes, really, because he had a back to the fireside. We beat Chelsea, Liverpool and City in through the opening 5 games, I think, and he never recovered from that. So, but it'll be interesting to see. You don't want to a too difficult start, but nor do you want an easy start. You want a bit of a balance, in my opinion. So, it'll be interesting to see what the fixtures come out, because everyone says it. Every team,
you've got to be you've got to be level-headed,
of-
Stu, because if you allow the fixtures to become this big elephant and this dark cloud, it's just
That's
another
exactly my
added
point.
pressure that you're putting on yourselves. So I don't expect Ten Hag to do anything other than what he did in his first press conference and go, "Yep, they're the fixtures. Everyone's got to do the same fixtures. What's the issue?
No,
Yeah.
well,
Why are you trying to make something out of it?"
Yeah, well, at risk of being edgy, which I've been accused of tonight by some idiot, that's exactly my point. The point is, it's an irrelevance who you play. You just got to get on with it. You have to get on with it. And I, to be honest, John, I don't think it did for Moyes. It's down to the players at the end of the day. Go out and win the game.
Well, true. But the changeover and Fergie not being there, then, but yeah.
I mean, we could be looking at, hopefully, I mean, I'm trying to be positive here, guys, but we could be looking at, a fair few number of players in a slightly different team going into the next season. So, teams are going to be coming at us with a little bit of a different view, hopefully, and a manager with a different style. So, this isn't going to be the United team that probably for the last 2 seasons that people have been that familiar with. But I'm being hopeful here, and that's
I think the thing also, Reece, is which I think you've seen a snippet of it already, is since when Fergie left up until Eric Ten Hag being announced, we've allowed the media narrative to control our approach by either being really, really positive about it, or it's being really, really bad. And then you also had all the noise that was coming out of the club on top of it. So it was United's fixtures are horrendous. The players are leaking everything under the sun about who's playing and what the manager and who if they like the manager, if they like each other, wearing the same socks. Whereas now there's nothing coming out. The journalists can't cope, which is why you're getting all this hearsay coming out. And that for me is completely how Eric Ten Hag will be. Closed shop, like Fergie used to be. It's us against the world, but in his own way.
Yeah.
Because you can't control anything else. You can only control how you perceive the information that you're given and you perceive the pressure that's in front of you. And if everything else is just noise, if you let that affect you, you've lost.
Yeah, totally.
Incidentally, though, it's only in the media they make a big kick out of what's the standout first game. That's what the media do.
Well, that kind of nicely puts Ben onto his topic then, because we'll talk about. We're not going too far back. Sorry, Stu, we're not going too far back, but we've agreed that we'd go back quite far.
To be fair, me and Ben were on the show last night, Ben, or the other night? We were talking about certain players, weren't we? And we made a point about a certain age groups and certain eras. So each to their own, isn't it? And we both made the same point. You see it through your own eyes.
Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah, totally. We'll move on to Ben's topic. I've got hopefully I can get the screen up for you, Ben, as well, and we'll talk through your all-time United signed 11. So the players that we'd signed, not brought through the academy, and then your best 11 through that over the last sort of 30 odd years. So I'll bring that screen up, mate. I can do that. And again, please in the chat, if you've got any, if you want to ridicule Ben for his 11, then please do that.
Oh no, somebody's already lost his absolute poo with me about where I put Rooney, and if he'd actually let me explain, he'd understand. But he's jumped in with 2 feet and committed.
Yeah, well, I just plonked him wherever. He didn't give me a formation. Or me and Ben didn't sit down for 3 hours and go through the tactics either. So yeah, this isn't Soccer Aid, guys. This isn't actually real. So
I know. To be fair, I tried to be sort of not the archetypal. Let's just pick who everyone else would pick. So I tried to be fair across the board, and that's why I did 2 teams, because I was trying to emphasize that, because I looked at 115 players that Fergie signed. Obviously, he signed I think more than that, but I looked at 115 that I thought were of relevance, not just in terms of some of them were obviously huge characters and huge for the club, but others who maybe weren't that as big a character, but still were great for the club in what they offered in maybe a small part or a larger part. So I did 2 teams. So obviously the first team that you've got, Stu, is the team that it was my first 11 plus subs. And that was probably, this team is the one that I would say most people would pick, of all the signings that Fergie made from his tenure to before he left, there's probably most of them in that team. I know obviously someone already went completely P-tong at me because I put Stam in over Vidic, but yeah, I also think Stam was an exceptional defender. I'm not dissing Vidic by saying he's horrendous. I really rated Stam and I would have played him.
I think it said it always Stam when Fergie said it was one of his biggest regrets letting him go, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was, and to me, it wasn't. It was the whole premise was to almost appreciate and applaud what Fergie did in the terms of the different types of players that he brought in and how he looked at each player. Particularly, it wasn't a negative on a player if they weren't in the first 11. They're on the bench. It's all hypothetical anyway, but it was more so to sort of highlight how diverse Fergie was and how he would, and all the little nuances that he would look for in a player that maybe others wouldn't have done. Like, he's not obviously on the first team, but the second team, Mal Donaghy, that Stu might know, he was Fergie's most expensive signing when he first arrived.
Yeah.
And he was actually a mainstay in all the trophies that we won in 89 and 90. He played 89 appearances and didn't miss a game until he left. And the same with like Ronnie Johnson in Team 2. And it was more so just to highlight how many players that Fergie brought in and how the vast majority of them, in one way or another, were a success.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. He had such a cultural diversity to his team as well. It was, a real kind of hats off to some of his teams. They weren't just a typical staple. I'll tell you what I'm going to do with this, Ben, if you won't mind, Stu. So everyone, this is Ben's team. I'll Ben to talk through his team pretty quickly, and then everyone will get. So I'll give you all a colour, and you can add one different player to this team, each of you. So I'll give you just pick a colour at random. I'll come to you. You pick a colour that you haven't. That's not obviously red, and then you can have one player within this team. I'll let you pick. So Ben, do you want to sort of talk us through your team really quickly? I think it's Fixture itself, really, to be honest.
Okay,
mate, but,
so my obviously keeper, it was a toss-up between Big Pete and Van der Sar. I went with Schmeichel because obviously he was, for me, the one who set the precedence for what keepers now aspire to be at. Rio and Stam, they, for me, I know I loved Vidic as well, but they were the two, for me, who I thought would make a great partnership. And I really do think that we missed a huge trick in getting rid of Stam when we did, but we did. That was it. Evra, I went with Evra because for me, as much as I love Gary Neville and I loved Paul Parker, Dennis Irwin for me was our best fullback in his whole time at the club because he could do both sides of the pitch. Now, some of them might have been better than him technically, but for me, you could put him on the right or the left and he would get the same grade. There was no other player that we signed in the fullback positions that would do that, in my opinion. Middle of the park, Robson was my hero growing up, and I played in middle of the park when I was a kid, so I always looked at him as sort of being the focal point. And obviously, he was the first who I thought inspired captain that I saw on a pitch. Carrick for me, I think, was probably one of the most underrated players in the Premier League, especially when he came to us. And obviously, Keane speaks for itself. Ronaldo, I couldn't not put him in just because of how much we paid for him, and then obviously what he went on to achieve, but also the great success he had at the club. Rooney, I loved Rooney just because for me he was like Gaza. You could go and see him at your local park playing football, and he'd happily join in. And then Eric was Eric. He for me was the first person I saw play football live, where I thought that's what a superstar looks like on a pitch, but without trying to be one, if you get me, because it was all just natural. So he wasn't trying to be a superstar like some of them you see now on the pitch, where they get that tag with that prima donna sort of thing. That was just him. So it was easy. It was almost accepted by everybody, even if you didn't like him as a fan. You couldn't help but love having that arrogance on a pitch.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, Stu, I don't know if we'll come to... Yeah, Stu, you've obviously wanted to add a little bit there before, so I apologise for jumping in, but do you want to kind of add to Ben's team and then just add a player into it, mate, that you feel like you would swap and change? So you choose your colour, mate, and I'll add you a player.
Yeah, well, Ben knows I'm going to have to change one, bearing in mind my best signing. summer signing Sir Alex made.
Well, then what colour are you having, mate?
They're too good. Oh, sorry. Well, I'll go with my favourite colour, which is blue. Believe it or not.
I'll just add to the chat as well because there's been a few comments. So just in the comments, these are just signed players. These are just Man United's players that we signed, not players that came through the youth system. So there's a few comments in there.
Just to check, this is just Premier League era then.
Yeah. So we've only gone back last sort of 30 years.
Because that's why I put Mal Donaghy in, because he just scraped the first of the Premier League era.
Sorry, Stuart. Go on, mate.
Yeah. So it's a tough one, but I'm going to have to remove Rio and put in Stevie Bruce. Now, Ben knows my reasoning for Steve Bruce because we were on a show the other day, and he was one of my. I think he was one of the best signs Sir Alex made. 800 grand, 51 goals for a centre half, 5 Premier League titles. Now, people would say, no, you can't have Bruce over Rio, etc. And Stam and Bruce wouldn't complement each other. They actually would. They complement each other brilliantly. But Bruce, to me, just epitomised blue.
You want blue?
Yellow?
You can have blue if you want.
Yeah, I want it blue, please.
Okay.
Yeah, blue. And I just felt that as Ben talks about Cantona being the catalyst, one of the very first catalysts, Mal Donaghy, again, you're absolutely right, Ben. People forget about him. I think if you ask most Man United fans who Mal Donaghy is, they'd be like, Same with John Gidman.
It's like Brian McClare as well. People forget what Brian McClare did.
So I understand. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So I do like the balance of the team. I'd be tempted to put Ince in there, but you can't really have Ince, Keane, and Robson in the three. And when I was growing up, Ben, you talked about Brian Robson. Yeah, I mean, I played with a couple of players that played with Robbo when he was at West Brom, and they just, when he had that terrible perm, and they just waxed lyrical about it, and they just said it was unbelievable. But I kind of modelled my centre midfield game on Paul Ince prior to Roy Keane joining the club. I just liked his all action, his all action style. But my God, he'd be dirty, put a tackle in, and that's how I used to play centre mid. So, but I like Carrick. I can see why you've put Carrick in there for the balance. But I can't really. The problem for me is where Rude. On the bench, I'd probably have Rude over Shooting. I know
Reece nearly had a heart attack when I missed him.
Yeah, if you can put a sub in for me, Reece, can you put Rude in?
Please. I'll give you two. The rules clearly stated only.
Yeah, you got to give me two.
All right, I'll give you two.
Cheers,
two.
Mate. You know me. I'll start getting upset and I'll start over dramatising things. You know what it's like.
I'm guessing you're putting him up front, yeah.
Ben, you probably thought I'd put Bruce in, didn't you?
Yes,
you must have thought, you'd probably go for Bruce. I'd put Bruce in.
Yeah. See, I was torn as well because I loved Kanchelskis.
It'd be Rio for me. Yeah. Well, yeah. What a player. So those would be mine, but don't know. But other than that, Ben, I wouldn't disagree too much at all.
No, brilliant. Well, Andrew will come to you in no particular order. Andrew will then come to John. So, Andrew, what colour do you want, mate? And then which play would you bring in replacement for any of I mean, you don't have to, but if you feel like you might bring one or two players, at least one player in over.
Take the colour red, and I'm going to have to put Vidic in.
I'll put you this one.
Yeah, him and Rio were just like, I mean, I've saw under Bruce Pallister and Stam and Johnson, but Rio and Vidic for me were just, I feel like, our best central defensive partnership. Whereas Rio would bring out the ball and get us on the attack, Vidic would just, stay there at the back, and he'd be like no messing about with him. He'd be putting in the tackles, putting literally his head on the line as well. I think there's a few incidents where he's literally he's bled on the pitch as well, and just got straight back up and gone, yeah, I'm fine. I'm going to keep putting in those tackles. Yeah, so yeah, can't leave they're all great defenders, but I just couldn't leave Vidic out of this side. I just couldn't from looking at the players that were left on the bench. So
a lot of love for you. Made a lot of people happy. A lot of love for Vidic. Made a lot of United fans happy. It's a tough one. I think we've had some great partnerships in the past, so it's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a tough one.
Yeah,
thanks, Andrew. And John, who are you bringing in, if anybody? What colour are you going for, mate?
What colour? I'll go for brown. So brown down there.
Oh, I've used this for Andrew. You have to pick.
Oh, have you? Sorry. I'll just have a black one then. Maybe.
Black, yeah.
This is a difficult one. I'd go a different formation because I go 4-4-2. No pun in terms of a player that hasn't been important there, I'd consider putting Lee Sharp on the wing. Because he was brilliant for us in the first.
On the left or the right?
On the left. I think he was integral to our early success, particularly in the early 90s and that. So, yeah, I'd probably go Lee Sharp.
I was. Do you know what? He's one of my kind of favourite players growing up. Oddly enough, I know he's not the biggest role model for a young kid, but I felt like he was scapegoated a little bit for Giggsy in his younger days, and I felt like he was used as a bit of a catalyst for Giggsy's kind of discipline. And I think he was up there with some of the greats that we had.
I think he's possible. In terms of underappreciated United players in our Premier League history, he's got to be a contender in my opinion.
Who's your pick,
it's a big shame. Well, it would have been rude. It would have been rude, definitely. I liked, funnily enough, I quite like Panelist when I was growing up. I like Gary Pallister at the back. He was one of the ones I just always stood out as a big personality in
it's a good shot,
team. Yeah, I quite like Gary Pallister actually, but Rude was a big one for me as well. Obviously, early 2000s kind of was a big player for me. I think, shamefully, I think like most kids in those times was if you want what hadn't have been for Henry, he would have won a massive major award, I think, and won more in the game if it hadn't been for that Arsenal team and Henry at that time. And he was up there. Him and Henry were fighting for the best player in the world. I know Henry didn't necessarily win it. I think it might have been Del Piero that year, but yeah, it was. They were unbelievable, both of them at the time, just battling out for goals and honours. So yeah, it would have been rude without a doubt. I think he was just incredible, and obviously there's a lot of love for him a lot of the ex-legends have a lot of love for him, don't they, as well, in terms of his ability. So yeah, that would have been mine. So yeah, that was good. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Ben. A good topic. I think everybody in the chat as well enjoyed that one. So thank you for that, mate.
That's all right.
So we'll come on to the well-anticipated Stu's topic. It's always one that everybody waits with breath. So we're looking forward to this one, mate. So
it's not anticipated. I just wanted to talk about the myth that is compression tops. Sorry, crikey, I've just gone completely. I really enjoyed that, actually. That was really good fun. We should do that again. Compression tops. I was talking about compression use of compression tops rather than long sleeve shirts. I know the reasoning behind it. I never used to wear them. They're there to really aid in your lateral movement, etc. Your kind of sharp movements on the pitch. I never used to wear them. I think they look ugly, and I think players use them to keep warm rather than any scientific, purpose, I guess, for wearing them. So my question to the panel is rather boring, usually, from one of my normal topics is, what do you think of compression tops? Have you ever worn a top underneath your football shirt? If you have, get off the panel immediately. And what do you think of how they look, and why do they wear short sleeve tops with compression tops and not long sleeve tops with compression tops? So that's my
Well,
question.
I'll add straight into this.
Just to finish the night off.
Well, I'll add straight into this. When I was sort of growing, when I was in my teen years playing football, there was I remember we call them night pros. They were like the compression tops. They were like kind of the newest thing to come out, and I think those players that we mentioned earlier on, like Rude, like Henry, were kind of like advertising them. They were kind of a newish thing. So as kids, you kind of buy what you think is popular. So we kind of bought them and we wore them, but I didn't really wear it when I was playing because you wore it for 10 minutes and you would sweat in buckets and you just had to get it off. So it was absolutely pointless. I mean, for me, unless you're a little kid and it's, blowing a gale and it's -3, you shouldn't necessarily, I don't think you should be wearing it to be quite honest, but that's just my view. And I agree with you, Stu. Other bugbears I hate. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the Grealish shin pads around the socks around the ankles. Right. So if we're talking about things players wear that you hate, that's one I just dislike. I didn't quite mind the socks over the knees thing, although I didn't do that either.
No.
And I'm more of an out tuck shirt man as opposed to a tucked in to shorts man, to be quite honest. So that's my view on it. Over to the other guys. I don't know if anybody wants to pick it up as well.
I never did it, and we weren't allowed when I played football. When you got to county, and then when you went for then trials for academy teams, you had to wear the kit that they gave you. And then when I got in the military, it was a no.
Yeah,
you could wear a t-shirt if it was like absolutely Baltic and you were playing in like wintertime in Scotland somewhere. That was deemed acceptable because you were trying to save your bacon from getting hypothermia. But it was generally, I would just wear my top long sleeved, socks, shorts, and that'll be it. And then you run about, you get warm.
Yeah. Do you know something, Ben? We played RF Vets, their full Vets team at St George's Park, January time, I think it was now, on the AstroTurf there. And none of them they're wearing short sleeve shirts, and none of them were wearing these compression tops because they're not allowed to. Completely not allowed to in the military, are they? It was ridiculous.
No, that, and you'd get absolutely rinsed.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah. They're pretty good as well, by the way. They were pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot of lads who play high level in the military, to be fair.
Well,
I know the army's pretty good.
Interestingly enough, the military are training some of the Premier League refs, or the younger Premier League refs or professional referees, which I didn't realise until.
You could do. I don't know if they still do it anymore, but they used to go down to Aldershot to do like your badges and stuff if you wanted to,
That's
FA and stuff.
Yeah. The three, we had a couple of assistants and obviously the main ref. They were badged up, but they were going through their training, and I think it was down at Aldershot actually. To be fair, so but yeah, interesting.
Yeah, some good standard out there. Andrew, what do you kind of hate to see players wear? Is anything you kind of a bugbear for you, or was it something you did, or?
No, I never wear compression tops. I just have football shirt, shorts, socks, my boots. So just run around and get warm. So I mean, players today, if they want to wear that, it doesn't bother me as long as they're giving 100% effort on the pitch. They can wear those compression tops. So it doesn't bother me either way. So.
And John, what about you, mate? Is there stuff that you
I never played with anything other than a short sleeve top, really, to be honest. So I've got this. I don't like long sleeve shirts in particular. I just have short sleeves and that's it. So nothing fancy.
No, bro. Well, look, guys, it's been a good hour. It's gone very, very quick, and I've enjoyed that. So thank you for all your topics. I appreciate all that and all your feedback. And thank you very much. Thank you to everybody that's been commenting as well. I've had quite a few comments, and again, quite a few people watching. So again, thank you for everybody that's been watching. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. Follow us on Twitter if you don't do that, and watch the channel all week. We've got plenty of shows on. I think we've got a show on Wednesday, Stu, and a show on Friday. I'm hosting on Friday, and
I think there's one Wednesday, and then you're doing Friday, aren't you? And then
I'm on Friday,
Sunday, last word.
Yeah, brilliant. So don't forget to catch us on all that as well, and appreciate all the comments and the questions in the chat. Don't forget to keep on doing that if you watch it back, and we'll try and comment back if you do watch it back. So thank you for your time. Catch you in the next one, guys. See you soon.
Cheers, guys.